Thanks for making Wish TV Indiana's most watched television station. You're watching 24-hour News 8 on today's Wish TV, where more people turn to get their news than to any other source. Now, Mike Ahern, Debbie Knox, meteorologist Cliff Nicholson, and sports with Mark Patrick. 24-hour News 8 continues now.
And most importantly, they have consistently attempted to conceal what has been called the ticking time bomb of the Apalco deal.
And with that, the chairman of PSI Resources announced that he and other board members were rejecting Apalco's bid for a hostile takeover. Good evening. The heat was turned up another notch tonight in the battle between the parent company of Indianapolis Power and Light and PSI Resources.
Charges and countercharges are being leveled as both sides tug at ratepayers and stockholders. Each claim their deal will save customers money. But as News 8's Ken Nelson tells us, when the smoke clears, stockholders will have the final word.
PSI began by telling employees here at their Plainfield headquarters that the board rejected Apalco's offer, reported first on News 8 on March 15th. In his bid to acquire PSI, Apalco President John Holdawall told me the deal would save PSI ratepayers $1.5 billion over the next 10 years. But Thursday, PSI Chairman James Rogers thumbed his nose at Holdawall's figures, saying stockholders were being sold down the river, that the Apalco offer was nothing but fool's gold.
Apalco's offer is built on a false promise to shareholders, a promise that would raid the pockets of Indiana electric consumers. We believe April 1st is an appropriate day to respond to the foolhardy offer of Apalco, an offer that attempts to deceive regulators, consumers, and the public. The synergy merger.
Rogers said an Apalco takeover would actually cost electric customers an additional $4 billion. But Apalco's Holdawall shot back. PSI's rhetoric demonstrates either an attempt to mislead or a complete lack of understanding. And he pledged to proceed with an offer directly to PSI stockholders. Rogers predicted that that will never happen, that Apalco will be forced to back off the deal.
Rogers went on to say that he and the PSI board of directors have every intention now of continuing with their plans to merge with Cincinnati Gas and Electric. The next move now is in the hands of IPL. In Plainfield, Ken Nelson, Wish TV, News 8.
PSI Resources also announced that its annual meeting of shareholders scheduled for May 12th is being rescheduled, but the utility did not set a new date.
If you subscribe to cable TV, you could see lower bills as soon as summer. Today, the Federal Communications Commission gave the nation's 57 million cable subscribers a break, ordering most cable companies to eliminate any price hikes imposed since last September and to reduce the cost of basic service by at least 10%. The cable industry calls the ruling unduly harsh. Consumer groups say it does not go far enough.
We believe rates should have come down on average about 30%. There's tremendous fat in cable's pricing.
The FCC says today's ruling is only a first step, that prices could come down even further. However, the manager of Marion County's government cable channel thinks the average customer will see little, if any, benefit from the rate cut. John Knox says cable companies have made basic service extremely basic and now charge people extra for things like ESPN, which used to be a basic channel on virtually every system. Knox says the companies can also get around the ruling by charging more for converter boxes and other special services.
Well, there are no new taxes, but not much else in a state budget proposal passed by the Indiana Senate this evening. Jim Schell reports the protests were underway before the votes were cast.
Teachers and administrators rallied in front of the State House for more money for schools this afternoon, only to see the state Senate approve a budget that includes just 2% increases for education.
It's not what we would like to do. All of us would like to see schools have more. We'd like to have state employees receive more money.
There's no money available unless you're willing to increase taxes on the citizens of the state of Indiana. I'm unwilling to do that.
But some Democrats are. The budget passed the Republican-controlled Senate on a party-line vote, with Democrats saying there's not enough spending.
It's close to impossible to put together a responsible budget bill when there's no money.
Yet with the Biden administration releasing new Medicaid figures today, the first tax to get support from the governor may yet be a tax on Medicaid providers.
The order of magnitude of the problem remains approximately the same, and so I think all the options for dealing with it need to remain on the table.
The governor is expected to produce his proposal for solving the Medicaid crisis next week, and only then will we know if the budget passed tonight will work. If it's any indication, the governor has already labeled the Republican budget proposal unacceptable. At the State House, Jim Shello, Wish TV, News 8.
According to the figures released today, the projected Medicaid deficit was reduced by $140 million. Without corrective action, it's still expected, though, to reach $825 million in 2 years.
The investigation into the infamous LaSalle Street murders has apparently run into a dead end. Tonight, Marion County Prosecutor Jeff Modisett announced that new leads in the 1971 triple slayings of 3 Indianapolis businessmen have run their course and that no arrests are anticipated. The case heated up last fall when a Florida prison inmate, Floyd Chastain, came forward with new information in the case. Chastain claimed he was an accomplice in the slashing deaths of the victims in their near East Side home. The original investigating team, including Marion County Sheriff Joe McAtee, saw merit in Chastain's allegations. However, new police investigators were assigned to the case 3 weeks ago. They say Chastain has now retracted his story and that his claims cannot be proven. In a statement tonight, Modisett says this phase of the investigation is now complete. Police in Marion report no progress tonight in efforts to find a missing Indiana Wesleyan University student. 19-year-old Tricia Lynn Reitler was last seen Monday night walking from a drugstore south of the campus. The only evidence so far, some clothes belonging to the young woman discovered along the street. Today, police used dogs in an effort to pick up a scent from Reitler's clothing, but 2 days of rain made the tracking difficult. Police fear Reitler was abducted.
Well, still to come on News 8, staff and students at IUPUI look forward to a calmer day tomorrow.
And the civil rights trial of Rodney King turns toward its close.
An Indiana man hopes to make strides for Parkinson's patients. I'm Leah Hope. Coming up on News 8, I'll tell you about the experimental surgery and the arguments against it.
Classes will resume as normal tomorrow at the Indiana University Medical School campus after a fire forced the evacuation of about 1,000 people today. The fire started late this morning in a tunnel beneath Michigan Street and caused power outages in 3 buildings. No one was hurt. The cause of the fire is still unknown.
The defense in the federal trial of 4 L.A. police officers charged in the Rodney King case rested its case much sooner than expected today. The defense elected not to call 3 of the 4 officers to the stand. Only Lawrence Powell, who delivered most of the blows to Rodney King, testified. Lawyers denied they ended their case early because some witnesses backfired on them, like the highway patrol woman who cried as she recalled the severity of King's beating.
If you were with us the past hour, you saw an episode of Picket Fences that dealt with a controversial new medical treatment. Some oppose the treatment because it uses fetal tissue to help people with Parkinson's disease. Tonight, News 8's Leah Hope has the story of an Indiana man who is preparing for the experimental surgery.
A former carpenter who was never sick now depends on medication to remove the stiffness and his wife to move him. Ken O'Brien was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease 6 years ago.
My average day now is just I'm either froze up or I'm so wild I can't do nothing but crawl around on the floor. You know, that's about average.
But the O'Briens are hoping experimental surgery will end or at least lessen the traumatic effect the disease has had on their lives. In order to qualify for the experiment, he has had to endure 6 months of testing.
Every morning, Ken gets up, he walks across the room to test the speed of his walk in front of this video camera. That and 7 other exercises, some as simple as tapping these keys. Simple if you don't have Parkinson's, but some of Ken's day, he can't even move.
I think we're fortunate that we have patients like Kenny O'Brien who are willing to make this kind of sacrifice in order to find out whether these types of experimental treatment modalities are effective.
Dr. Seamers is Ken's doctor. He specializes in Parkinson's and says in the few previous experiments, the results have been positive.
Making these cells available from fetal tissue, they can then be transplanted into the brain of a patient with Parkinson's disease and correct that deficit of a chemical called dopamine.
We cannot begin viewing any human being, either adult or preborn, as merely sources of tissue.
The use of fetal tissue from an abortion has created some controversy. Arguments against this experiment have a familiar ring to the organ transplant debate.
We should never view healthy human beings as resources of organs for transplant. Likewise, we should not view unborn children as merely sites for tissue transplant.
Regardless of the debate, the O'Briens are looking forward to this experiment, but more importantly, the success of the surgery.
It's like a whole new life I got to look forward to, see. Before there wasn't no hope, but now I got something to go for.
On the south side of Indianapolis, Leah Hope, Wish TV, News 8.
Ken O'Brien will go to Denver for that surgery. He expects to go later this month or in early May.
Cliff has our forecast coming up even for the weekend ahead.
Yes, indeed. It's snowing outside right now. Oh, but there's better news ahead. Stay tuned.
I'm Rob.
I'm Fab or no?
No.
No,
Okay,
no.
let's start again.
Who's
Okay.
Rob and who's Fab?
I'm Fab.
And I'm Rob.
And we'll talk next to you with Patty.
Peace.
An unusual story and rescue from Johnson County tonight. An employee of the Post-Newsweek cable company was working in a new subdivision when he sank into some mud. The more he tried to get out, the deeper he went. He was waist deep in the mud for an hour and a half before someone noticed him and called for help. The man was taken to a hospital and treated for exposure. It's cold out there tonight.
Sort of like quicksand out there. That would be a bad scene. Well, snow happening as we speak.
A little dose of winter to remind us of the way things can be.
Indeed. A few flurries out there right now, but it's going to get brighter. Helena, Montana, I just saw on the wire, too, this afternoon, had a minor earthquake today.
Really?
About 3.9 on the Richter scale. So for April Fool's Day, a little shaking up there in Montana. High temperature came at 1 minute past midnight in Indianapolis, and that was 51 degrees. And all day the thermometer's been falling, and it's finally down to 33, which is the current temperature outside. Two-day storm total as far as the rain in the city, nearly an inch, 94 100ths, and about 12 100ths of that came past midnight again on April 1st. With flurries outside, temperature is 33. Look at that wind chill, 13 degrees outside. And that's because we have a wind out of the north at 15 miles per hour, and the barometer is rising, and that's a good sign because that means that the low pressure system, which is over our area, is finally beginning to move off to the northeast, and behind it high pressure. And look at the clear skies already down over Minnesota as well as portions of Wisconsin. That's finally going to start shoving into Illinois and Indiana tomorrow. Western Indiana by tomorrow afternoon, and late tomorrow afternoon we could see some sunshine here in the central section of the state. As we take a look at radar, snowfall, I've seen anywhere reports of about 1 to 2 inches of wet snow up here in LaGrange, Indiana. Beyond that, Flint, Michigan has had 3 inches of snow. But there are winter storm warnings out for western Maine this evening where they could see up to 14 inches of snowfall as this storm system crawls up to the northeast. Current temperature is pretty chilly for this time of the year. 29 degrees right now in South Bend. We have actually 30s all the way throughout the state, 35 in Evansville. The little S is where we're picking up snow at this hour. 32 freezing in Detroit and over in St. Louis. It's 33 degrees. Here's the weather set up for us. On Tuesday, we were in the mild pocket of this particular system here. Remember, the high temperature Tuesday was 72 degrees. Well, now we're in the cold pocket, and that's going to continue for tomorrow, but the air is going to start moderating or warming toward the weekend, so that's some good news. Still kind of a cool weekend, but a lot warmer than these 30s that we're seeing outside. Secondary storm system right here with precipitation associated with it. It looks like it's going to dip down to the Gulf and miss us. At the most, it may bring a slight chance of a shower to southern Indiana by Saturday, and maybe partly cloudy skies up the central section of the state, but as of right now, the storm system looks like it won't pick on us. And again, this particular area, this storm is going to move up to the northeast and out of our hair, but the cold weather will continue at least for tomorrow. High temperatures, look at that, only in the 30s, some 40s down here to the south, 70s from Texas all the way down to Southern California. Here's the outlook tonight. Indianapolis, periods of light snow, flurries out there. The low temperature should bottom out tomorrow morning in the mid to upper 20s. And on Friday, mostly cloudy. Now that means cloudy in the morning with, again, a flurry, and then by the afternoon hours, maybe some sun peeking out. Unseasonably cold, however. 38 degrees the high. The average high this time of the year is 58 degrees. Tomorrow night, clearing skies, but cold. Again, another low in the mid-20s. And on Saturday, the sun returns, a warming trend, high in the mid-40s in the extended forecast. Sunday doesn't look bad, warming up into Tuesday. So we'll get tomorrow out of the way, and then we're back to normal.
We'll take it. We'll take some sports with Vince tonight.
We're going to check in with Mark Patrick, who's in New Orleans, and we'll also tell you about the Colts. They've picked up a couple of free agents, but now they've lost one as well.
Wake up with Daybreak, weekday mornings at 5:30 on Wish TV.
Colts fans have grown familiar with number 80 hauling in Indianapolis passes over the past 7 years, but you won't see it anymore. Billy Brooks is no longer a member of the Indianapolis Colts. Well, the Colts' tendency to use two wide receivers in its offense meant limited action for Bill Brooks last season, and the scenario was not likely to change this year. That thought and others led to Brooks' decision to opt for Buffalo's Bills. Always a fan favorite and usually the quarterback's target during his 7 years with the Colts, Bill Brooks will be missed, and likewise he will miss the Colts.
I'm saying thank you to the Colts organization, especially Mr. Jim Irsay, Mr. Bob Irsay, for giving me an opportunity to realize a dream as I was coming out of college and to play professional football. And they've always treated me with great respect and treated me as an adult, and that's all you can ask for. And I thank them for that. They've been very classy to me.
The second leading receiver in franchise history is coming off his least productive year, but Brooks believes there is plenty left in his game. And by the looks of Buffalo's 3-year, $3.5 million offer, the Bills think so too.
I don't think there's any one overriding factor. I just try to weigh all the options out, my wife and I, and see what's best for us. And we felt that this time that was the best thing for us to do, and decided to do it late last night.
Buffalo has the weapons and remains one of the league's best, and the thought of capping the career with a championship ring is undeniable.
They've been there 3 years before. They've been to the Super Bowl 3 years, and unfortunately they've come up short. But hopefully that will change and they can win a Super Bowl.
One of the classiest guys in the NFL. We hope so too, Billy. Good luck to you. Some NFL notes for you. The Dolphins have acquired wide receiver Irving Fryer from the Patriots for some future draft picks. Former Bengals defensive back Lewis Billups has been indicted. This is like a soap opera after allegedly making threatening phone calls to the sister of Washington Bullets guard Rex Chapman.
Really?
Go figure, as the world turns. The NFL and the New England Patriots are trying to convince the state of Massachusetts to build the Patriots a $694 million dome stadium. Wow, now they can just put a good football team in there. Speaking of dome stadiums, Mark Patrick is standing outside one of the largest. It's a breezy night in New Orleans. Mark?
Thanks, Vince. It is very windy here at the Superdome tonight, and Indiana is not completely out of the tournament spotlight. Tomorrow morning, Calbert Chaney will accept his first of 2 College Player of the Year awards, and we'll have that coverage coming up for you tomorrow night on Channel 8. But the focus is on the Final Four. Kansas was the last of the teams to arrive here in New Orleans earlier today. They went immediately to practice, but all of the talk in New Orleans has been about the team from the Bluegrass State.
Kentucky has practiced twice in the Crescent City since arriving yesterday. After returning from a hard workout tonight, Rick Pitino is going to let his Wildcats prowl on Bourbon Street.
Coach, what kind of fun you going to let them have on Bourbon Street tonight?
Well, I don't know, whatever they'd like to do. They're a very mature group. You know, I think they're not hell raisers. I think some of them may find a library and then go to bed.
On Bourbon Street?
Do they have those?
Earlier today in the Big Easy, everyone was talking Kentucky and their remarkable 31-point average margin of victory in the tournament.
The thing with Kentucky is they keep coming at you with so many people, and they never give you a moment's rest on either end of the court. And I don't think I don't think that Michigan's perimeter defense in all of their spots is what it takes to stop a team like Kentucky.
Game 1 will have the Dean against the Protege in the Superdome, and even though Kansas was too strong for Indiana inside, Florida State's Pat Kennedy is wary of how they'll match up against North Carolina.
The thing that North Carolina does so well is they get the ball next to the basket. Everyone is saying Eric Montrose, but you know who beat you? George Lynch. And when they get it down low and you've got to defend someone like Montrose, and George Lynch is on the other side to pick up some missed shots and to pick up when he's double teamed, they're very powerful around the basket.
And Vince, as we look at this tournament come Monday in the championship game, you wonder if number 23 is going to do it again. He's hit the game-winning shots in 1982 when it was Michael Jordan against Georgetown, and in 1987 when it was Keith Smart against the Syracuse Orangemen. It's probable if that happens again, it would be Rex Walters who wears 23 for the Kansas Jayhawks. We'll throw it back to you in the studio and check in with you tomorrow at noon, 5, 6, and 11 on Channel 8.
Thank you, Mark. Been some great games at the Superdome over the years. Well, the Pacers were off tonight and hopefully resting up for tomorrow's showdown with Shaquille O'Neal. The Pacers and Magic entered tonight's NBA play, tied for the final playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. Shaq served his one-game suspension stemming from Tuesday night's fight against Detroit. Did it tonight as the Charlotte Hornets and Larry Johnson racked up the Mavericks, or the Magic, I should say. Even the Dennis Scott Rainbow couldn't help Orlando tonight. Watch Alonzo Mourning. Wow, 30 points without Shaq. Hey, check out Fonzie in New York with Dan Reeves acting cool and checking out the action. The Knicks win their 15th straight home game tonight as John Starks hits the three. Despite the lefty from Mark Price, the Cavs get only 32 points in the first half, and Patrick Ewing had 30 points and 12 boards. New Jersey wins over Miami. Spud Webb 27 as the Kings crown Washington, and Houston beats Milwaukee. And Evansville's Parrish Case Beer says he's going to the NBA.
All right.
Thanks, Vince.
It's our lucky night as Patty joins us live.
Oh, you're lucky. Well, can they do it? Will their fans forgive them? Milli Vanilli is dead, but Rob and Fab want to revive their music career. This time they want to sing. You'll meet them next. Do I have to beg? Dr. Rob and Fab at the Vogue tonight. Well, maybe they wouldn't have been so disgraced if they hadn't been so successful. They lived a lie. And when the truth was out, they lived in shame. Now they want to talk. Now they want to sing. Really.
And the best new artist is Milli Vanilli.
3 years ago, they were on top of the music business. Milli Vanilli, Rob Pilatus, and Fab Morvan were honored by their peers as the best. And it all came crashing down a few months later when rumors were confirmed they did not sing on their album. It was over. It was the first time a Grammy had been taken back.
Do I have to beg when I know that you really want the same as me? Oh, girl.
Now they're back after lawsuits, therapy, and a suicide attempt. Rob and Fab are ready to face the world and open their mouths.
Well, we hope to prove to ourselves at first that we're able to do something that, to a certain extent, we have talent, quote unquote. You know, that's the reason why we came back. And after that, the rest of the world, you know, get some credibility back.
They were international stars, sold 7 million albums. What about the money?
Now it's not about money. If we want to survive, we don't really, you know, want to die on hunger, you know, but money is not that important. For me, really it's important just to find my happiness, my inner peace. And I can't do this with money.
Looking back, would they do it differently?
Very hard to say, because at that moment in our lives, we couldn't think better or wiser. We were 22, 23, very naive Germans, French people who never been in the United States, who hardly didn't speak English, who got this offer, you know. And I don't know if I would do it the same way, but probably maybe I would.
Girl, must I explain what to do?
Ironic they're here tonight, April Fool's Day. See Rob and Fab Saturday at noon, singing at the Lafayette Square Mall. And I'll tell you what, I'll give them 5 points for just trying this. This is going to be a tough road to hoe, and I wish them good luck. Back to you, Ken and Debbie.
Thank you, Betty. We'll be back with a final word after this.
Do stay warm tomorrow. We are going to see a high only in the upper 30s.
Okay, thank you, Cliff. And that's our news for now. I'm Debbie Knox.
I'm Ken Owen. Thanks for watching. Be sure to tune in for Daybreak tomorrow morning at 5:30 and have yourself a great day.